So even our first session has a generative AI tool working on it. If you see the AI meeting notes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for adding read.ai here. Okay, so thank you guys for waiting. Let's start the session. Is my screen visible?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Is the slides visible and is it full screen?
Yeah, they are visible.
Okay, so thank you everyone for attending the inaugural session of GenAI Club. So our vision for GenAI Club is to educate and empower you guys to become the next generation leaders of the generative AI development in India. And we'll achieve this goal by having educational sessions about LLMs, prompt engineering, RAG, AI agents, and fine tuning, and a lot more concepts. We'll also organize expert sessions by industry experts to get you guys up to date with the latest trends in the industry, how to get into the industries, and things like that. Third, we will organize hackathons. We will have standard hackathons where we have a problem statement and you guys will make a solution, a AI solution for it. And we will also have fun hackathons like art competitions, Miss AI competition where you guys will generate models and things like that. We'll also have music competitions, and at the rate at which video models are progressing, I think we'll even have a short video competition, things like that. We'll all the fourth we'll do project walkthroughs. Uh, we will do live sessions where we'll when you guys like after the end of the session you'll have a resume ready projects. The projects that we have planned are AI interviewers, uh, uh, AI chatbots that can teach you topics in the course, AI agents that can edit your resume to the job requirements. Fifth, we will have weekly newsletters. The generative AI world is ever changing. Like every day there is a new breakthrough. There's something new happening every day, and it's very hard to keep up with it. So we will send you guys weekly newsletters where all the biggest updates that happened that week would be there. And lastly, and the most important thing that we will do is community building. Uh, Here you can guys can like network, chat, and help each other to progress. How about the community? So we have a WhatsApp community, and there are 5 groups in it. The first group is resources. In resources, I encourage all of you guys to share links and useful courses that you find to help other members. Next is general. Here you guys can chat and network. Third is technical discussions. Here, I encourage you guys to discuss the uh, upcoming things and the recent developments in the native AI field. Uh, Fourth is project showcase. So whatever AI projects you have made, please do share here. The best and the most interesting projects, I will share it in the weekly newsletter. I'll even talk with the IITM team and the Sundarban team to get the spotlight your project deserves. And last is help and support. If you're stuck somewhere and you need our help, just drop a message there and we are all here to help you. Next, we currently only have 2 members in the club, in the core team, and we will start recruiting soon. We would need community managers to handle the WhatsApp community and see that everything is going okay, nothing offensive is being said. We will need content writers for our website and social media posts. We will need social media managers to handle the social media channels. We will need operation managers to handle various operations of the various events we are planning. And lastly, we would need web devs and AI devs. And our aim, like the people who would be joining the core team, guys should know that we are planning to build tools for everything that we need. Like we will make tools to like attend the meeting and make the summarization and key points and then send it to the mail. We'll have tools for the social media posts we'll do. We'll also make AI tool that would send emails, the newsletters that we are planning, it could automated. Even the posters that we are making right now is with designer. I want our team to make a tool that even generative AI poster making tool, presentations, everything. I want a tool for everything, and this tool we'll share with all the clubs in IITM, and someone uh, asked me if we have planned to run it like a startup. So if these tools are successful, we'll also try to get companies like connect with companies and help them make generative AI tools. So now for the moment you guys have been waiting for, uh, talk about generative AI by Lovleen Chadda sir. He is CTO and founder of QApp. He has written 20 plus patents that have received more than 400 citations, and he has more than 30 years of experience in data science and AI. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ritik. Let me share my screen. Is my desktop visible?
Uh, yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for me inviting me over here. And then, whenever something is happening about generative AI, it is always a topic of interest. And today you're launching a new club. That's really an honor to be here, on the day one of this club itself.
Thank you, sir.
I'll skip this thing. Ritik has already spoken about me. I've been very active in industry, and now I've started a generative AI startup, and there are almost 20 students from IT Madras, this BS degree program, who are doing internships at this startup. And so this is a topic which is naturally of interest for me as well, and I'll be interested in seeing what kind of progress you are making, and what kind of ideas are getting productionized, and how you are using it for running the club itself. That's a very, very interesting thing, that for the day-to-day activities of club itself you will be using this technology. Let's get into the topic straight away. The challenge with AI is that, as soon as it works, no one calls it AI anymore. When I started my career, at that time, the big challenge was considered as, if a system can beat chess, that will be really cool. That's what people used to think, that if a system can beat a chess. And then one day, IBM built a system which was able to beat the world champion in chess. And then we said, okay, no, no, no. Chess is something which is more of a mathematical game, and there's no AI in it. You can just do a tree search, look at all the possible moves, and it's not really AI. So it has to be something different. And then after a couple of years, there was this game of Jeopardy, and IBM Watson was used. It was a live show which was being telecast, and then at the game of Jeopardy, it had beaten the human beings. So that was the next frontier that it crossed. And then you have seen so many things which have happened over last 20 years, especially with the coming in of deep learning. And the goalpost has been changing. A few years back, they said, okay, complex games like Go are really a no go for AI. But then everybody knows about AlphaGo and what happened to the Lee Sedol's game. So the post has been changing, it has been moving. And this is something interesting about this field. And let's see, what where we are today, and then how it is going to go further from here. So for me, for today's discussion, I'll mostly talk about generative AI. Whenever we use the term AI, I'm mostly talking about generative AI. So when you hear this phrase generative AI, what comes to your mind? Just think about it. What is the first word that pops up in your mind? And I'm sure there may be only 3 4 words which may be popping up in your mind on the first go itself. And these 3 4 words are mostly about chat GPT, DALL-E, video generation, content generation. Over last 2 years, they have spread all around us. And we are really seeing a lot of mind-boggling things happening here. The popular narrative about AI since a very long time, since several decades, has been that AI will provide us intelligent assistants. And we are seeing it now, getting really coming to a reality that these assistants are, people are already talking about deploying them and using them. There are already companies, startups working on them. And these assistants are helping us with the basic stuff like drafting emails, drafting documents, scheduling appointments, creating a marketing copy, generating images, videos. This is more about content creation topics, if you see. One thing which has been getting left out in the popular narrative is it can also be a high end entry. It can also be a professional consultant, some kind of an expert. Maybe it is not so intelligent as human beings, but still it will still be a useful entity for us. It can handle topics like market intelligence, strategy creation, action planning, negotiations. We typically think, no, 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 these are not meant for AI. These are too complex things. These are the tasks which require reasoning and deliberation. Whereas on the left hand side, it's mostly content creation. So these are very different kind of tasks which are here. But then we are seeing today that lot of possibilities are emerging on the right hand side also. People are really talking about using the AI bots, AI systems as a high end professional consultant rather than just as an intelligent assistant. When we talk about the assistant, focus is on low cost. Can we replace a human being with a low cost software alternative? Whereas when you talk about a professional consultant or a expert, then we are talking about, can we generate high value from my interaction with this particular entity? When you're delegating a task to an assistant, you tell them that, okay, this is what you have to do and do it exactly like this. Whether it is human beings or a digital assistant, we are expecting that there are some preconceived ideas about that how the task should be done, and then they're supposed to follow our instructions, do it like this. And that is what you're saying when you're doing dealing with chat gpt. A lot of time you're giving it instructions that exactly how it should do things for you. On the other hand, when you're dealing with a professional consultant or an expert, you ask for advice. You tell them, hey, I'm in crisis, I'm facing this problem, I'm struggling, how should I handle this? The perspective is very, very different. On one hand side, we are telling others how to do it, and on this side, we are asking them, how can I do it? Tell me, I need your advice. So the spectrum is very, 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 very different on these two areas. On the assistant side, we are mostly talking about secretarial tasks, clerical tasks. Now, one key thing about these tasks is often, over last 2 decades, if you see, a lot of these kind of tasks have already been outsourced to gig workers and freelancers. There are a lot of websites where people are giving us small tasks. These tasks are very well defined. They have a clear cut boundary. You can carve out a small piece of work and give it to somebody else, and this person can work on it in isolation. It does not require so much of interaction with you. And then that person comes back and executes and say, okay, this is what I have done. Is it okay for you? So that is the mode in which work has been happening. And typically these assistant tasks are primarily driven from the cost perspective. So when companies feel that their own internal cost is very high, then they start giving it to outsiders. And today there are sites where a lot of freelancers are doing these kind of tasks. But when you talk about the high end tasks, it could be a professor, it could be a CEO's job, it could be a product manager, quality manager, project manager. We expect that AI should be able to act any of these roles. It will not be able to perform all these roles completely autonomously, but maybe it can help these people enhance their productivity. Think about, have you seen that movie Iron Man? The people get that kind of exoskeleton and they become Superman using those kind of machines. So same way, in various kind of professions, individuals can get these kind of systems which can make them super proficient in their day-to-day work. Sometimes these systems may be able to replace those people, and sometimes they don't replace them, they just augment or complement the existing manpower. And you may be wondering why I'm telling you all this, because this is more of a industry talk. It is more meant for a corporate people, not so much meant for the students. You'll be stepping into industry. Some of you will be getting into industry maybe this year, next year, or 2 3 years down the line, but you will be getting in there. And that's where most of the money lies for application of AI. It is the corporate applications which are going to fund a lot of the things which are happening in the AI area. Of course, there are a lot of end user business applications, lot of cool things that we see on the mobile phone also, which are meant for the plain vanilla users. But then bulk of the money comes from the corporate use of technology. That's where Vast masses of companies are making money. So instead of looking for jobs, you should think that can you become creators of new jobs? And it's a very radical thinking I'm trying to plant in your head, that you may be thinking that okay, can AI help me get a job? And I'm saying maybe you provide jobs to others. You find out new ways of doing things. You find out new roles that are required in the industry. Because when you have a new ways of doing things, they will also lead to new roles. A lot of the stuff that people are doing today in existing roles, maybe those roles will be combined, or these tools will help them. Some of the work may be done by the bots and some of the works will still be done by human beings. So the definition of those roles will change. So start thinking from that perspective. How our society will be evolving, how education will be evolving, how the way you are consuming various kind of content, it will be evolving, how the content generation will be evolving. So it is not just about learning about coding, it is the end use. That's where the focus should be. If you're able to think about the end use, then you will be able to develop things. You can always hire programmers, but it is the end use, the ideas about end use, that is what is often lacking in the society. And my focus today is to motivate you, inspire you to think about those end uses of how AI can be used in different areas. Back in 1889, a very funny thing happened. In United States of America, they thought that okay, we can close down the patent office. All those technology innovations happen, and then people generate a lot of intellectual property, and they try to protect their property, intellectual property, by patenting those ideas so that nobody can copy them. So in 1889, somebody thought, okay, maybe we'll have to downsize the patent office significantly or close it down completely. Can you imagine what was the reason why they got this thinking? Because they thought that everything that can be invented has already been invented. Now just think about 1889. That was a time when electricity, telegraph, electric motor, dynamo, all that stuff was happening. And steam engine, all those things have already happened 100 years before that. So a lot of new stuff has happened around that time. And they had this thinking that, okay, everything that can be invented has been invented. And now 2 years back, when ChatGPT was launched, we all know what kind of disruption it caused. So today, we are standing at the beginning of a very long era of radical innovations. Trust me, society is going to change in ways which we cannot imagine today. And this cycle is not going to, end very quickly. It is a very long haul thing. The software boom that we have seen in India for so many years, it actually originated, in 90s. It got visible and it got very noticeable, but it originated much before that. So that boom had it was spread over several decades. Same way, this AI stuff is also going to be spread over several decades. So it's the beginning of a very, very long era. And a lot of you may be having apprehensions that, okay, I get a job after doing, I've been learning programming, but then with the help of this Copilot and other things, now anybody can program, anybody can do the coding. Don't just think about that. There are new ways, new things which are going to come up. Focus on the new stuff. You can innovate every aspect of AI, whether it is development tools, testing, debugging, deployment and monitoring, or consumption tools. And I've picked up these things because this is a community which is all computer science people, data science people. You all are thinking about developing things. So you deal with these kind of topics. Had it been a session for people who are outside computer science, it would have been in a different discussion. So this is a chain. These are the things, where you have to look at. And in this area, at every step, there's the opportunity for doing things in different way. You're already seeing the way you used to do coding. Now new ways of doing coding are getting, evolved. And then a lot of people who were not proficient in doing coding, they can do coding with the help of these new ways of doing things. But my focus is not so much about how to write Python code or C code using these Copilot kind of stuff. My poser to you is that there are so many integrated development platforms, integrated development environments for software development or for data science. We know things like Visual Studio, Android Studio, Eclipse. A lot of such platforms are there. Similarly, for data science also, you got Microsoft Azure is there, AWS has got a lot of stuff, Amazon has got, and then Databricks, and then there are tools like RapidMiner, Alteryx, K9. So many of them are there. Can you name any IDs or platforms for AI development? Today, all the money and focus is invested in model development. Companies are coming up and they're spending huge amount of money. They're coming up with bigger and bigger models. There is a kind of race happening with the, and there are 5, 6, maximum 10 big players who are kind of controlling the entire world in this area. And then vast majority of people, they will be actually developing the applications. They are not going to be developing the models. Even the fine tuning is a task which very few companies will be doing. So are there any tools which can help in development of AI applications? We are still thinking about these tools as a coding tools for Python or coding tools for Java, JavaScript or C. But we're not thinking in terms of from scratch. Can you reimagine what does an AI development tool requires? A tool which is required for development of AI applications. What all stuff do we need there? And I'm giving you a hint. Today, most of the development is meant only for technology experts. Imagine that if you have to enable a commerce or a humanities student to become developer of AI, how are they going to do development of AI applications? One approach is that they're using Copilot and then they're giving it commands attack. Okay, give me generate code for this thing, generate code for this thing. But there you're still talking about coding only. You're just giving a nice user interface for coding, but fundamentally you're not changing anything. You're still writing code. There's just a tool which is helping you writing code. So sometimes when you're getting a new capability, then you should go back to point zero and think about if this capability was available 10 years back, how would I have imagined the development tools to be? Maybe at that time, I would have thought that there's no need for a programming language. We all know that a computer program at the binary level is just a set of bits. And in the beginning, assembly level programs were used to convert from assembly language into the binary digits. And then high level languages like C, Python, Java, all that stuff came up. But if you had a co-pilot available 30, 40 years back, then there would have been no need for inventing C, Java, Python. These languages are not really required. They were developed because we did not have a system which was capable of understanding human voice, human text, and converting it into a executable program. So why do we need this intermediate coding languages? Why do we need Python at all? Why don't we have something where you are writing stuff in the basic, you're describing stuff, what it is, what it should be doing, and it straight away generates the executable. Nothing is required in between. Destroy the market for Python, Java, JavaScript, C, all that stuff completely in a very, very radical way. Testing and debugging. A lot of people think that they've developed this AI application, but then about testing, they're clueless. Only thing that you can look at is, did the large language model give the right answer? Did my app give me the right answer? Is the answer based on given inputs? Is there any part of answer that is not based on given inputs? If the model is generating any answer which is not based on given inputs, that means model is actually hallucinating. It is imagining something which was not given in the inputs. We feed a lot of chunks and inputs to the model. Is there any chunk which was not used, which did not contribute to the answer? The model did not use that piece of knowledge at all. Maybe had it used it, it would have given a better answer. Did we retrieve all the chunks that were relevant to the task? Did we retrieve some chunks which are not relevant to the task? So metrics for AI, how do we do debugging? I'm putting these questions, but then think about it that these questions have to be answered in a very structured way by some kind of a tool which can handle all these things end to end. Today there are wonderful tools over last 30 years which are used for programming IDs. You can have breakpoints. You can look at the variables. You can establish watch. You can trigger the breakpoints. All that stuff is there. But when you're developing an AI app, and you have to talk here in terms of the data, not in terms of the programming language that I'm putting a breakpoint at this particular statement. I need to put a breakpoint in terms of data. Okay. Monitoring and deployment, they go together. At the design stage, whatever you did for responsible AI, its impact will be visible only after deployment. Whatever you're doing in the design phase is more of a theoretical in a very, very controlled lab experiment. But once it reaches the field, that's where we get to know how is it behaving. You've deployed a model, you deployed an application, and then a better model is launched in the market. There's a GPT-5 is available, GT6 is available, or some other company comes up with a model, and then you can to use it effectively, use it. Maybe there's a need to redesign the templates. So what do? You have application already deployed in the field. To make use of this new thing, are you going to redesign all your prompt templates, or what do you have a plan for that, how this problem is going to be solved? That's where there's scope for innovation. We know Andrew said several years back that AI is the new electricity. Someone has to pay bills for AI. So how do you control usage, and what kind of business models are there for handling the pricing for your application, as well as handling the bills which have to go to companies like OpenAI or others? So you need new ways of handling this. New meters are required. You build an application which is using AI, and this AI is coming from a large language model which is sitting somewhere in the cloud. Maybe you have run out of money to pay for that AI system. Your account, your credits in with OpenAI have been exhausted, or there's a problem with the internet connectivity. Will your application still work? Maybe with the reduced functionality, or it will just collapse. So how you can ensure that it can be working with some kind of in a very, very, very graceful way with some degraded functionality? These things have to be looked at the design stage, but they are realized, and then the real impact is felt only when you're in the field. Consumption tools, and we all are consuming AI today. Especially students are consuming it in a big way. I'm sure everybody will be taking some way help for getting the assignments done when there is a pressure. How do we assess the goodness of an AI app for a specific task? And maybe we talk about a business task. There are a lot of benchmarks on which LLMs are ranked and rated. But those benchmarks are designed for researchers and AI technology developers. They're not really meant for business users. On the consumption side, you might be aware that this term for the software engineering project, IT has asked students to, they've given them a project task that, okay, how we can integrate generative AI into the Seek portal. So there are hundreds of students who are working on that problem. That's where the consumption is happening, that how it can be consumed from within a learning environment. Same way we have to think about, if you're looking at the avatar of a professor, CEO, product manager, quality manager, procurement manager, project manager, HR manager, in all these functions, how this consumption is going to be happening? Will it be becoming part of the existing tools, or is there a need to reimagine from scratch completely new tools which help these roles do the things? There's a certain knowledge stack that is used in our industry. In the early childhood, in the early schooling area, we learn basic skills of reading, comprehension, writing, summarization, basic mathematics. We learn about statement problems in maybe class fourth or fifth. We learn about reasoning, all that stuff. As we grow up, People go into engineering, medicine, accounting, law, different fields. So you acquire much more knowledge there. But when you go for a job interview, especially if you're experienced professional, and even if you're not experienced professional, even if you're going as a fresher also, if you have listed out any project on your CV, they're not going to ask you straight away questions from engineering, medicine, accounting. They're going to ask you what problem you faced and how did you solve that problem. They're going to ask you questions which are based on your experience of using your knowledge. The questions will not be linked to the textbook, they'll be linked to your experience. What experience you gained, what experience you used in solving the problems, whether it was an academic project, semester project, or you did some internship at a company and you solved a problem over there. So they'll be talking about those experiences. Now, when it comes to these generative AI models, they're also being taught about reading, comprehension, writing, summarization, reasoning, statement problems. And Chat GPT, Gemini, Mistral, all of them are being taught on the same thing, whatever we did in the first few years of our life. At a higher level, we talk about sentiment analysis, entity extraction, topic modeling, classification, regression, object detection. And these models are also being taught about, text from engineering, medicine, accounting, law, and all that stuff. So all that knowledge that we acquired, they're also being fed about those things. But when it comes to deploying an application, the same question comes. People, when they're using it, they're not going to ask about that, is it good at sentiment analysis or it is good at engineering medicine? Question will be that, okay, I have a task at work. Can this AI model help me with my work? And how good is it? Well, when you're interviewing an employee, you can make some estimate that, okay, how good this employee will be when you're hiring that employee. Or I can use the work that when you're deploying this employee, how good it will be. But when you're picking up an AI model or an AI application or doing the work, how do you handle it? Are you going to do some kind of interview of this particular application? How do you assess it? This is a very big gray area. It's a very big opportunity. So on the consumption side, one big challenge is how do we assess an LLM's goodness of fit for business tasks? And I'm using here word business tasks, but it can be a lot of other tasks in our society. Okay. So today we are just thinking of building out cool applications. Initially things sell because of coolness, but then soon the coolness will go away and then people will start focusing on the effectiveness. And then only those applications survive which make people effective and more productive at doing their things. So many companies have put money in social networks, but then only one company survived. So many companies have put money in similar in different kind of applications for email or search. If you look at Google is the only one which made big money with search. Other people struggle with that. So initially there are a lot of players, but then other players slowly and slowly they vanish out, and then one player survives there because that player makes it very very effective for people to do their stuff. That player provides a very simple way of doing things. So there is a short window and you can grab this opportunity. My focus today is just to highlight that there's a opportunity for doing innovation in the entire supply chain of AI. You are developers of AI. You are also users and consumers of AI. So instead of focusing on Python and other things, focus on, you know, from a capability perspective, like what could be the imagination that you need, what could be the possibility with this kind of technology. If this technology grows, today you have got GPT-4. Imagine what will happen when GPT-6 comes or GPT-10 comes. What kind of capabilities can we expect from that? And then how the society will be looking very, very different. But yes, being computer science students, you have to focus on Python and coding activities and doing the basic stuff. But that should not be your end goal. That is just a means to reach something bigger. So your goal is not to be proficient in Python, Java, JavaScript. Your goal is something else. These programming languages are just tools and techniques which help you in reaching a bigger opportunity. So don't lose your eyes from that opportunity. Don't take your eyes off that opportunity. I'll just share a couple of things about student learning agenda. And I was initially seeing that a lot of members of this club, lot of audience was asking about that. Okay, will you teach about Hugging Face? Will you teach about this thing? And there are so many WhatsApp groups that Ritik was talking about, and he was also talking about various kind of projects which will be there. And I'm just listing here a very simple learning agenda that you can use to kickstart your journey in this area. And we use it for all the interns who work in our company. And I thought, let me share it with you also. Before I go to that one, I just want to talk about something that I noticed a lot of students are still not aware about some stuff. And I thought, let me put together this slide. This GPT-3 or 3.5, it is using 175 billion parameters internally. And this big size is actually kind of a measure of its capabilities also. GPT-4 has got 1.7 trillion parameters. And Google, Gemini, and Meta, they are all working on models even larger than that, 2.25, 3.5 trillion, those kind of things they're talking about. There's a good thing which has happened. There are a lot of companies who have also done open source models also. These open source models are available. They're typically, in the 50 billion to 80 billion parameters are there. And these models also have small variants, only 7 billion parameters. These are all open source models. ChatGPT is not open source. You cannot, it is a proprietary model of a company. Whereas these other models are available, anybody can take them. And if you have the computing power, you can, run them. So this 7 billion is what I'm interested in. And I want to bring it to attention of all of you, because during my conversations with students, I realize that a lot of students are not available. They're not aware of these things. This 7 billion parameter model, LLM, I'm talking about an LLM. It takes roughly 4.5 GB of space, and you can run it on a laptop with 8 to 16 GB RAM. In 8 GB RAM, it will cry, it will be very slow, but in 16 GB, yes, it is usable. You can download it and run a LLM on your laptop. Okay. So this is a key message that I want to tell you, that you can do it on your laptop itself. You may be thinking that this is something which resides on cloud only, but there are smaller models available. These smaller models are not so capable as the bigger cousins sitting in the cloud, but that does not mean that these are completely useless things. These are still useful for a lot of professional tasks. Okay, so this is an area worth exploring, and this also gives you access to do certain things for free on your laptop without requiring too much of resources. So from a learning agenda perspective, first thing I will say, maybe you can explore locally running these LLMs. If you want to do that, you will have to install this Olama server. There's a small server is available, Olama. And then Mistral is one of the model, 7 billion parameter model of Mistral. It takes around 4.3 GB space. You can install Olama server, and then Olama will install the Mistral also. And you can install other models also. And you can just run it on your laptop. They'll open in a small window, and then you can give it a prompt, and you can ask, you can chat with it in that small window. So you'll have your own LLM running on your laptop, no connection to internet required once this is up and running. You're developers and you're interested in APIs. That's your bread and butter. So first thing you should look at is OpenAI has provided an API, and this API has become a kind of a industry standard. It has become a de facto standard. So it makes sense to learn this API. There are only two function calls that you need to learn over here. And this API works with Olama server also, and you can use it for free with Olama server. You can write a Python code, small code. It requires only 10 lines of code. Make a function call to this API, and then you can talk to the Mistral model running under Olama. If you want to use these APIs for connection to the Chat GPT's cousins, GPT-3, GPT-4, that requires a fee. While you can use those models through the web interface for free, but if you want to connect to those models using an API, it requires a fee. So developing proficiency on programming aspects of this API can be done for free by using Olama and Mistral. And if you can afford, then you can go for a paid API of the OpenAI also, and use it for GPT models. Llama Index is another API from Meta, and then LangChain is a very popular framework for developing LLM applications. Hugging Face, you all I believe might be aware, they also have their own API. The next thing that I will recommend to all of you is to get familiar with the concept of a vector database. These days, any AI application that you talk about will have somewhere a vector database sitting inside it. ChromaDB is an open source vector database. You can just do a pip install ChromaDB. There are only 4 functions that you need to learn in these things to get started. Again, only 10 lines of code. So between this OpenAI API and the ChromaDB, there are 6 function calls that you need to go through, 10-15 lines of code. That's all you need. With these 2 things, you would have covered a lot of content for your interview, job interviews also, and you would have covered a lot of stuff for building cool applications also. Once you have done this thing, then you move over to a RAG. RAG is the acronym for Retrieval Augmented Generation. There's a certain architecture for building AI applications. These are known as RAG architecture, and then it is using these vector databases and then making calls to the LLMs. So build a toy application using RAG concept. Simple one. Just put up a query from a document. It has to fetch some information and answer it to you. And it does not require too much of coding. You can put together a small RAG application with some, maybe 40 lines of code or 30 lines of code. It does not require more than that. Very simple code. It is just the concept that you need to focus here. A simple Jupyter notebook can be, helpful in doing this activity. And then I'll move over to some advanced topics. The topics on the left hand side were mostly about coding activities, understanding the libraries, those kind of things. On the right hand side, it's about prompt engineering, and it's about certain frameworks like React and chain of thought. The React that I am talking here is, it is not that JavaScript, React, Angular front end framework. This is different. React means reasoning and action. So this is something which is specific to the large language models and prompt engineering area. Then autonomous agents. There are certain frameworks are available. LangChain is there, Crew.ai there. There are others also. Frameworks are available. These are the most popular and well-known ones. So this is an area, if you really want to become an expert on AI topics, and when I use the word AI, I'm mostly talking about generative AI, dealing with the LLMs, those kind of things. Then this orange is where you need to be. Blue is just, the low hanging things. You can go through the blue part in a week or 2 weeks time. Orange part will take you some time. And that's where you should build up your proficiency. Before we close, I just want to give one message. There is a myth. A lot of students and lot of mid-career professionals, lot of people in the corporate area also, they think that I don't need to learn prompt engineering. I know how to use ChatGPT. I've been using it for last 2 years. So they think that prompt engineering is maybe for some non-tech savvy people. Maybe if my grandma or my dad has to use ChatGPT, they need to learn prompt engineering because they don't know how to go to ChatGPT, how to type it out. It's meant for those kind of beginners and those kind of people. If you think like that, then you have absolutely no idea what prompt engineering is about. Prompt engineering is an advanced topic. It is not a beginner's topic. Okay, it is an advanced topic. You cannot become an expert without doing prompt engineering. Find a course, enroll in it. It'll open your eyes. You'll find a lot of courses on Coursera. You'll find courses on LinkedIn. You'll find courses on other portals also. A lot of free stuff is available. And this is something really worth learning. So friends, you cannot ignore AI in today's world, especially as students of computer science. It is a very important topic for you. Of course, you can ignore it, but important thing to understand is that AI is not going to ignore you. Whatever you're doing, wherever you're doing, whichever way you're doing it, it is going to impact you. So better, leverage it rather than resisting it. Yes, that was the end of it, and I will be happy to answer any questions you have got. You can connect with me. My LinkedIn link is given over here. I'll stop sharing it if there are any questions.
Uh, Thank you so much, sir, for the presentation. It was like each and every moment was precious. Learned a lot from it. So, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Sushil, you have your hand raised. You can unmute and ask.
There's a question in the chat window. Isn't prompt engineering just trials and errors process? No, prompt engineering is not that. There are a lot of special techniques which have been developed to get a prompt, an LLM to do things. Just think about the kind of stuff that we're doing today with LLMs is very, very simple one. There are complex things which cannot be done. Search for the word called, phrase called chain of thought. Search for React, reasoning action framework. There are two well-known papers are available, or a lot of articles are also available. Read about these two things, and that will give you some glimpse of what prompt engineering is about. There's another question. What about agent AI? Yes, I've already spoken about that. For autonomous agents, there are frameworks like LangGraph is there, Crew.ai is there, and then I believe in the during Paradox time there was also a hackathon around some of the agent things. Fitch.ai had something running at that time.
Mm.
So this is a very area of interest, and there will be a lot of opportunities over there. And when you're working on agent kind of stuff, it's not really so much about programming. It's really about AI and prompt engineering topics.
Drew, can you unmute yourself and ask your doubt? And guys, if you have any question, please raise your hand and ask your doubt to Lovleen sir.
Yeah. So, sir, first of all, thank you for this session. I wanted to ask that when you're recruiting or when you're hiring interns in the field of generative AI or even freshers, what are the kind of projects that you're looking for in that resume? I mean, for example, if I as an intern bring an end-to-end application which is hitting a multimodal LLM and it is performing various features, including a RAG system, so how would that impact an application at an intern level? Yeah.
See, when we are doing things in our company, we are not really looking at any prior experience in AI area. I'm just looking at. I'm typically asking people that, okay, have you done Mad One project and Mad Two project? This is the only question I ask people, and there's no very strong interview which is happening, because almost everyone who was interested, we asked them that, okay, come on board, because Mad One and Mad Two projects is a very good way of assessing like what a student has gone through. Even if they have not done the project themselves, if they took help from somebody, but they've gone through a process of developing a web application, they've gone through a process of building a front end and back end, and that experience is important. Today you can search anything on internet and write code using that thing, and all the assignments and projects are also being done using chat gpt. So that entry barrier is not there. If you know about something, it is great, but if you do not know about that stuff, and this learning agenda that I have shown you, this is really the first 2 weeks we ask everybody to go through it. And irrespective of what project they are working, I always assign them some small project to build a RAG application. That is typically the first part for everybody has to go through that.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Athar, can you unmute yourself to ask your doubt? Athar with Zen of.
Sir, for the beginners, how to start to study of AI, and how to, I mean, what mindset is good uh, for the study of the AI?
Okay, AI is a very vast field. You will be learning about it in the during the degree level, but for the today I will say you should focus on developing small applications using the technologies which are available to you. And whatever I showed in the previous slides as a learning agenda, if you can go through that agenda, it will position you very nicely in the sense that if you have some idea and you want to build a prototype, you will be able to build on an app and do a prototype, show it to an investor. You can go through that thing. I'm always encouraging people that think about an idea, think about becoming a startup entrepreneur, because there's much more opportunity over there rather than just looking for a job. The corporates are still hesitant. They are still not clear how they are going to use these applications. Lot of people who can benefit from it, they even do not know how to interview people, how to interview the AI engineers. The roles, we all normally think that in data science there's only one role called data scientist, but actually there are 20 different roles. And the people who have to hire them, they also are not aware of those roles, and the students are also not aware. So there's a big gap over there. So as far as if you're starting from the very beginning, just focus on, I can share this slide, this learning agenda slide, and then you can go through those things. Typically 2-3 weeks are good enough for you to make significant progress all the way up to making the rag. Beyond rag it is going to take you, because there is no end here, sky is the limit. But you can you should be able to do a rag application in around 2 weeks time from scratch.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, guys, we will our agenda as a club is to teach you all. So just be active in the club and you will learn most of the things and concepts in this club.
Yeah, Akash, please ask your doubt if you have any doubt.
Hey, thanks for the presentation, sir. It was very informative and interactive. Sir, my question is that as a working professional, I am, initially when I got to know about the AI, I was kind of scared that is it. So I'm into data science. So that time I was scared that how is the job market going to be in the near future, and how do I need to upgrade myself in this regard. So you have covered most of the points in the presentation, um, and I think if I follow the same learning curve that you have mentioned, right, I think that should be good for me. Or do you suggest anything else apart from that?
No, that is what should be the starting point. And I also see some of the comments in the chat also. To do a AI application, you do not need to learn about attention mechanism, transformers and birds, and all that kind of stuff. You need those things if you're trying to create your own model.
Okay.
There are very few companies who work on creation of model. There are millions of people who work on building applications using those models. Okay. So today you focus on building those applications, you understand it from an end user's perspective. When you get into the degree level, the first 5 courses on degree include AI and deep learning. And then you will also have option of picking up maybe a 6th or 7th course, a dedicated course on LLM. So LLM is a standalone, course in this program. That's where you will be able to talk about, attentions and transformers. But at this stage, you do not need that. Most of the people who are building applications, they just need to know the APIs of LLMs. They need to know about vector databases and how do you integrate this thing into an application, existing or new one. Imagination is the biggest thing that you need to learn. APIs are easy.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
What is the difference between GenAI and AGI? Okay, GenAI is the generative AI. This is a reality which is
Yes.
already existing today. And AGI is your artificial general intelligence, which is not existing today, which is a phrase given to an advanced form of AI sometime in future, which will be able to compete with the human beings. It will have the same kind of capability as human beings. So they are trying to distinguish between the hype which is happening today. They say, okay, let's call that full-fledged thing as AGI, because already all the businesses have started marketing their products as AI products. So that's where the distinction lies. AGI is not existing. Maybe our grandchildren or maybe your generation will be able to see it. And today GenAI is there, so focus on GenAI. Srinivasan, can we
Uh,
unmute him?
Hi, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so, sir, actually, I'm a commerce student and I'm pursuing this data science course. So, actually, my first exposure to programming is from this the Python course that was there in foundation, and now I'm in the diploma level, and I have not done any of the diploma in programming courses yet. I've started with diploma in data science. So, uh, given that, for starting the concepts that you have mentioned in your slide, do I need to learn something else, like as a foundation, in order to do this, or like can I directly start with the concepts that you have mentioned in the slide? For example, the vector databases and stuff. I don't know like how normal databases work. So do I have to learn that to
No,
then do?
no. Whatever you have learned in the foundation for Python, if you understand that properly,
Hmm.
that is enough for you to get started on this. The content that I have given you, the learning agenda, it requires only a good knowledge of the foundation level thing only. It does not require anything more than that.
Okay, understood, sir. Thank you.
Hi, Lovleen. I have a question. Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Hi. So I'm Pawan, and I have significant experience, like around 15 years. I'm currently working as a manager, and I was intrigued by your statement where you told like companies are also not aware like for what roles should we interview people. Like they said, only data scientists, but there are different 20 types of roles. And I also have the same issue. I mean, see, even though joined this course at the first batch, I've gone through the Python coding and all, but definitely I'm looking somewhere as an analytics manager role. And obviously I can be as good in coding as what a fresher is, but I have a knowledge of it. At least what I thought is, as a manager, if I have exposure to the tools, technologies, I think that should be good for me if I'm trying to explore. So I just wanted to get pointers from you, as I want to go into the job market and look for the opportunities. Like, uh, what should I target? Like, what should be my competency? Uh, and where should I exactly look for?
Okay. See, in the entire space of data science, I'll just talk about a broader thing first. Everybody must know how to train a model. I'm just talking about the plain vanilla machine learning things.
Hmm.
Even if you're not going to become a data scientist, you must know that thing.
Hmm.
Because if you're working on a project, you must understand what exactly is happening in that project. While it
Hmm.
is not your responsibility to be a data scientist,
Hmm.
but when two data scientists are talking and sitting in that project, and if you are not aware of what they're talking about, you may be, you may be causing a damage in that project.
Got it.
Okay, you may be you may be a project sponsor, or you may be a department head who is actually owning that project. And the way traditional software development has happened and the way data projects happen, they are very, very different.
Hmm.
And one of the big blunders which is happening in industry is a lot of people are using those software methodologies and they are applying it to the data projects also.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so you should know those things even if you're not going to be using them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Same way when it comes to this AI also, you must understand the concept of vector databases. You must understand the LLMs and APIs. See, just because somebody is working on responsible AI, somebody is working on ethics, somebody is working on something else, when you have to do things at scale, then an ability to write code becomes easy to do your job, because you need tools. You need tools through which you can test these systems. And you should be able to demand to the developers that, okay guys, give me an API through which I can exercise this functionality.
Hmm.
I don't have to go and do everything on the user interface only because I have got 1000 test cases to be run. If you give an API for deliberately for the purpose of testing only, or give me an API through which I can do something internally in the to bring the LLM into a certain stage. So you need to have knowledge of those things, and
Yeah.
you will be using your coding knowledge for a different purpose, not for developing apps. not for training a model, but for doing testing activity. Everything has to be done here at scale. Unlike the test cases for a typical software, and over there also we all know that it is impossible to test a software exhaustively.
Hmm.
Over here we are talking about a system which is just supposed to be interacting with human beings like human beings do with each other. There are billions of possibilities are there. So any testing activity, any kind of monitoring QA activity, it must be happening at scale. So I will say knowledge of whatever I said should be there, but you will be using it for a different purpose.
Got it. And like for opportunities wise, I mean, like which companies are like should I target? Like, I mean, like any pointers
If you
for that?
see today, if you go and say something about AI ethicist, most people will not even understand what exactly it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, even that technology company also people will not understand about it. So there are only very big companies, or there are first thing I will say, look for companies who are AI native, who are building products from scratch for AI.
Okay.
Okay, because they are fully into AI and their ecosystem and their terminology, lingo, everything will be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas those who have a product for last 10 years and then they are just doing a small 1% increment in it and they just want to put a label of AI on it, they will not understand the need for a AI ethicist. You should go and talk to the legal counsel of these companies, because those legal counsels, they will be able to understand the kind of things which are at stake, and they will be able to understand that okay, there's a need for an ethicist to be part of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But first you should think about which products require it, and rather than just thinking about where to apply for a job, build a portfolio of yourself that okay, where you think an AI ethicist could have made a difference in the existing applications, or how an off the shelf can be evaluated by an AI ethicist. Because you will have to, this is a new area and you have to prove yourself, and then the people who are going to hire you, for them also there is a kind of a learning curve happening over here, because it's a both people are learning here. It's a challenge for them also, that how do I evaluate an AI ethicist. It is not an easy situation for them. First to get an approval that I need to hire an AI ethicist, that will also be a very big thing. Just put yourself in their shoes, that if you are a manager and then you have to go to your superiors and say okay guys, we need to hire an AI ethicist, how are you going to explain it to them? Think about that problem. If you're able to explain your superiors about hiring for an AI ethicist, then you will be able to build a good value proposition for yourself in the job market.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, but go for the AI native companies rather than the incumbents.
Yeah. Thank you, Lovleen. And I liked your presentation. I think the flow of thought, I think I just loved was and very different.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sir, there are two questions in the chat.
Can you read out, uh, Ritik, the question that you have
Yeah,
put out?
one question by Abhishek Prasad is, what's the aim of your startup company?
Okay, we are not building models, we're into building applications, and our kind of a company motto is that no humans left behind. So in the race, in this whole the way society is going to be affected, we want to ensure that no human being is left behind in this whole AI movement. So whether you are a developer, producer of AI, or whether you are a consumer of AI, everyone should be able to do something over there. So our focus is, how do we enable people who are not technology experts, how they can become developers of AI. Similarly, how do we enable people on the corporate side who are not technology experts, how they can leverage this technology. So we're building tools and solutions which can help on both sides, and it's purely on focuses on the apps rather than on the model building activities.
The next question is which is best for fine tuning? Like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini.
I will not be able to, uh, in general, one generic statement I will say that in the field of data science, AI, and data projects, there are never any generic answers. Okay, things are always good for specific applications. And first thing is ChatGPT. You cannot do a fine tuning on your laptop. You can do fine tuning only using the OpenAI's APIs and resources. And I do believe they must be giving you a very good performance and very good capabilities over there. It is possible to fine tune an open source model on your laptop also, on the kind of the typical laptops that we're using. You can do fine tuning on those laptops also. So first thing you have to look at is, when you're talking about best, what is the definition of best? Are you talking about best from a cost perspective? Are you talking about best from a competition perspective? Are you talking about best from a performance perspective? If you're talking about best from a performance perspective, then it is the data which is the player here. Because when you're doing a fine tuning, you have to feed it question and answer pairs. How good are those pairs? That is what will be determining. I and I've not done any experimentation, but my gut feeling is with the good data, you should be able to do good performance from all these models. I've seen even on laptop those 7 billion parameter models for some specific tasks, they are very, very good. So you need to know the task that you're doing, which model is actually better for that task.
Uh, okay, Joyce Malik, please unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, sir. It's been nice session. So my question was that about the AI models. Why aren't there many companies doing the AI models, and what are the hurdles they face?
If it takes, $30 million to train, $50 million to train a model, one iteration, okay, then who's got that kind of money? That is one thing. Second thing is about the talent also. You should not just read about Python and these APIs. You should also read about history of AI. Do you know the person who's known as father of deep learning? Anybody knows the name? The person, he's still alive.
Uh,
There were three persons actually.
hmm,
Yeah, Jeff Hinton. Read
Jeffrey
about
Hinton.
read about Jeff Hinton. Okay, Jeffrey Hinton. When 10, 20 years back, 15 years back, when this deep learning thing really got onto a stage on the big way, especially after the ImageNet competitions, there was a mad scramble to get all the deep learning experts out in the market. And Google went around, hiring everybody. And then the Chinese companies were also reaching out to Jeff Hinton, and then others were also reaching out. And then one lawyer gave a advice to Jeff Hinton that, okay, you do not, look for a job, or you do not look for your expertise. You form a company, because people pay more for a company. Okay, so you form a company. So Jeff Hinton formed a company with three persons. He was there, and two of his students, two of his assistants were with him. And the three of them, they formed this company, and then they said, okay, whoever wants to buy us, they can buy us. This company did not have any product. This company did not have any IP, or this company did not have any patents. There were only three experts, deep learning experts. So they set up a auction. You might be aware of this neural networks conference is there, NeurIPS is there, which is which happens every year in the winter. So it happens typically Las Vegas or those areas. So Jeff and these people have set up a thing in the somewhere. There's a place Reno in North California where there's a lot of casinos, and then NeurIPS was also happening there. And I believe in the Ritz Hotel they have hired a room, and then they've set up somewhere on the higher floors. And there were a couple of players who wanted to bid for them, and they started getting bids by email. Initially, when they started this whole activity, they were expecting that maybe somebody will hire them for 3 million or 4 million. That's the kind of thing that they're looking at. Bids went up to 25 million, 30 million, 33 million. Okay. They went all the way to that level because experts were limited. Deep learning was like a black magic thing. At 33 million, the bidding did not close down. Jeffrey Hinton said, "Okay, guys, I am not going to proceed further. Let us close it here," because he was scared that the Chinese companies will bid higher, and then he wanted to stay in US only. So he opted for Google at that time. So the three people company was bought for 33 million. No IPR, no product, no patents, nothing, just the brains of three people. So that is a challenge. There are very few people who really understand, and a lot of people who would have in this audience who are at a higher level in this program, you might be knowing about the equations, but do you really understand machine learning? Do you really understand what is happening? Can you create a new algorithm? Okay, most of the courses are just teaching you about using an existing algorithm, but how do you build something new? So that's where the challenge lies. First one was the money which is required for GPUs. Second is the talent which is required. Very few companies have got this talent. That's why Sam Altman had said that, okay, India will never be able to do something like this. Okay, and now this guy, Mahindra guy, was saying, no, we have done it. So let's see. We have not yet seen the results, but I hope that is what is my answer for you. I hope it helps you in understanding why there are not too
Yes,
many
sir.
players in this area.
Thank you for answering, sir.
Yeah, there's a comment that no one ever dreamt about building my own model. All I know is import a library or framework and fit the data and call the test function. And that's where I'm saying, is the problem. That's where is the problem with most of the education system, that we just stay there because we even do not know what is happening inside the model. Okay. And even most of the stuff that you learned in class 12th in college and physics and a lot of other places also, we know about mathematical equations, but the intuition behind that, it is important. And that's where we get stuck up on our progress. So if you want to really make it big, you got to someday be building your own model, but it's not something that everybody will be finding as exciting. It depends on the personal taste. So there's nothing wrong in using a library and building an application. So both are different approaches to excellence. Any explainable AI really exists? Yeah, even with the chat GPT also, you can ask it to justify its answers. It's a very good example. Whenever it is giving you an answer, and if when you're getting your assignments done by chat GPT, you can ensure that chat GPT is not making any mistake just by asking it that, okay, justify your answer. You will notice that it will stop, it will reduce the number of mistakes that it is making. There's a question that I've been working on a project by building custom chatbot, but the results are not precise and they have moved on to fine tuning. I don't know specifics of your project, but typically before you get into fine tuning, you should look at what is happening in your vector database area, because somewhere you must be using a vector database and extracting information out of it. That is also often a weak link. Fine tuning is something that you should go at the last stage only, when you have exhausted everything else. You must first look at the entire chain of chunking vector databases, and then the prompts that you're doing. You should have a very, very structured way of analyzing all the intermediate stuff that is happening. And fine tuning is like maybe a kind of a brahmastra, I will say, that should not be taken out every day. It's an expensive thing. And first extract, try to exploit
Yeah,
the given things that you have got within your application.
a lot of things like can be done using RAG instead of fine tuning. Like, but it obviously depends on the application. But people have found that instead of fine tuning, RAG has shown really, really promising results. In fact, in some cases, RAG has shown better results than fine tuning.
I will go for fine tuning only if the basic lingo or the basic way of talking and working is very different from the knowledge which is available in documents. Okay. Or you're in a very specialized domain, then I will go there. Or you have got certain kind of things which are not available in your documented knowledge. If you have things available in the documented knowledge, and maybe a team assistant can use that knowledge to answer queries, then a chatbot should also be able to do it. That's a common heuristic I'll give you, that if there is a new person who does not have a domain knowledge, if you can train this person to answer questions based on that documented knowledge, then bot should be able to do that thing. Okay, explainable AI is different, and explainable ML is different. Okay, so what is happening in the hidden layers of neural network, it is something different than explainable AI. And I will say right now, wait for this thing, go to your deep learning course, and you will develop a very different perspective of what is happening in the neural networks. Lot of things that are right now looking to you as a completely black box, you will start looking over there. And what is happening inside a neural network is different than what is it about the answers which are being generated. Typically the applications which are there, they are not just giving out the output of a neural network straight away to the end user. There are a lot of pre-processing and post-processing happening on it. There are a lot of cross checks are happening on it. And usually you're taking, like they say, you should correlate the clinical observations with the pathological results. Same kind of thing is happening in most of the applications which are doing some really big stuff. So any application which is making a big impact, which has got some really important decisions for the end user, they are looking at outputs coming from multiple perspectives. Some of them are using machine learning, but then they are also trying to answer the same question using a hard-coded logic also. And then they're combining these things together, and then they're trying to reach the answer. So while you may not be able to get that answer from the hidden layers of neural network, but then you can build out some additional heuristics and try to say what exactly is happening. You will never know what is happening, why a neural network gave that answer. Lot of answers we give out of intuition, and we can never explain how that answer happened. What is the difference between Indian, Western, and Chinese companies? Okay, I will say let's not make any generic comment here, because it all depends on, I will not say country wise anything like that. It is company wise thing, because some companies are ethical, some are not ethical. So let's not label any country like that.
I think, sir, we should wrap up here. We have already exceeded
Yeah.
our time limit.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for accepting our invitation and delivering such an awesome presentation and insights on GenAI. Like,
Thank you.
it
It
was
was
awesome,
good
sir.
to interact with all of you.
And we would love if you could do some more sessions with our club. Like, we'll be really grateful, sir.
Sure, I'll do that.
And thank you everyone for joining today's session. And please do join the club by the link that has been pinned in the comment. And we will share this session's video in Sundarban's YouTube channel. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, thank you everyone. Take
Thank you,
care.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
The form link will be available on a Sundarban's website as well as on Sundarban's Instagram page and LinkedIn. So if you didn't get a form link, then check out